Hi guys, Patty from Patty's Crafty Spot, and you guys have been asking for a tutorial for so long on my Graphic 45 Seasons album, and here it is finally. It only took me over a year to make this album, and when I first started out making this, it was fairly new to making this. I mean, I followed a lot of other people, but to design my own, it was kind of a first. So anyway, you guys have asked, and it's been long enough that I am pretty confident in how I make my albums now. And at the original time, I thought this might be complicated to make, but it's not. It's super simple. Anyway, I walk you through making it. I did make some adjustments to it because this album, you can see, is so thick, but it is actually almost unusable because there's not even photos in here yet, and it is huge. And you start adding photos, you're definitely going to get alligator mouth. So I made some adjustments to the measurements and went ahead and make it much bigger, much usable. And I hope you enjoy this tutorial. I do walk you through how to make all the steps. And if you like what you see, I would love a thumbs up and for you to subscribe. If there are any comments along the way, just go ahead and leave them down below and I will do my best to answer them for you. I also will include timestamps in the tutorial so you can go ahead and pick up either where you left off, or there is waterfalls on each section. There's 4 of them, but I only make it once, so I will link below the timestamp for that. And I don't think there's any other things that I have to mention ahead of time. Just go ahead and watch it. And like I said, if you have any questions, just let me know. And I hope you enjoy this tutorial because you guys have been asking for this for a long time. And I am so happy to finally bring it to you. All right, so go ahead and watch the tutorial and let me know what you think. Okay, so let's get started on one of the album sides. So for this one right here, you're going to have to make 2. So when you cut your chipboard, you will need 4 pieces that are 8.5 by 8.5 and 2 pieces that are 1.5 by 8.5. All right, so now I'm going to show you how to make one of them, but remember, you need to make 2. All right, and this one here I'm going to cover with my Kraft cardstock. So let's go ahead and get started on the first one. So my Tyvek piece right here that I have is 4.5 by 8.5, and what I did was I scored in 1.5 inches from both sides. Not sure how well it's going to show. But anyway, I score, so whatever size I make my spine, I always add 3 inches to that, because then when I put my Tyvek into my scoreboard, I always measure over 1.5 inches, so I have equal space on both sides. Alright, so I'm going to take my spine piece, which is 1.5 by 8.5, and I've already added my score tape. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to center it between those score lines, and then just make sure you burnish it down well. And I'm going to use this little tool here that I have. I do have a video on this little tool. It's currently from a quilting magazine and it was a free gift with purchase. I'll leave a link down below where I got the tool. It is something that is free, so depending on when you see this video, it might be hard to get. But I do have some tools coming that very much do the exact same thing, and those you can purchase. So when I do get that video, I will definitely share that with you. So if this tool can't be found, you can definitely find the other one. Alright, so that happens to be something new that's coming out. So be sure to check that out later. So I'm just going to go ahead and line this up. So perfect 1/4 inch spacing. And if you don't have any fancy tools, you can go ahead and put a 1/4 inch width of score tape, or you can always make yourself some little shims that are also a 1/4 inch, so you can easily do something like that. Alright, and the other side. Stick that right down. And then I'm going to burnish everything. So what I'm going to do right now off camera is I'm just going to go ahead and add my score tape real quick, because I just don't want a video being super long. So I'll be right back as soon as I add my tape. Okay, so I went ahead and I added my score tape, and now, like I said, these two smaller pieces, or smaller album ones, are going to be covered with craft paper. So I went ahead and I added 3/8 inch score tape on both sides. This is going to be my middle paper. So to cover this, you're going to need 3 sheets of the 8.5 by 11, or if you're using 12 by 12, you could get away with 2. So now when I'm doing the 3 pieces, my centerpiece, I usually put tape on both sides of the centerpiece, and I'll tell you why in 1 second. So I put the score tape on, line it up to the bottom, and then I just kind of walk over my paper so I can see where the score tape is, and I want to cover right up to the edge of the score tape. Okay, and then I'll do the other side. Oops, it doesn't want to come out. Right, and then I'm just going to do the other side. And put that down and burnish it. Okay, so once that is all on, so now what I do is I would flip it over. So this is where I just added it. The flip it over part is, this is what I want to be the outside of my book. So I'm going to go ahead and leave it just as it was, because I like the look of the overlapping coming from like the back to the front. It just, it makes it look more like the book spine. So anyway, so now what I want to do is I want to measure up 1 inch from the bottom, so I can make a mark and make sure everything lines up nice and neat. So I'm going to go ahead and measure 1 inch. All the way across. Just like that, so you can see that line right there. Now the other thing that I like to do is, oops, my spine. So I like to find the center of my spine. So this is 1.5 inches, so 3/4 would be approximately the center. So it just makes it easier to find the center of your spine now than it would be after you start adding all the cardstock and everything to it. So I'm going to go ahead and, now this works more for when you're doing a hinge system, but this is the same method I follow all the time generally. You probably not see that in some of my older videos, but I do it now in my when I'm making my stuff new. So, and I'll show you where that comes into play. So now, because where I've got these 2 seams from where I overlapped, I also want to make sure when my book is in here that these seams are actually going to line up from page to page. And what I mean is, I'll show you. So you can see right here and then right here. So they're actually in the same spot. I think just looking at it, it just kind of makes it look a little better when it's not, you know, kind of weird or off-centered. So how I do that is I also want to find the center, and that will depend on the size of the tape that you use. So I'm not going to say what I'm finding it here, but just find your center, because if you're using different thicknesses of tape, it is going to change it. So and also too, depending on how even you got it, that might change. So now what I'm going to do is just connect the 2. So then what I do is I take my line and I'm going to line up to the 1 inch on the bottom, and then where I had drawn my line on here, let me just zoom in real quick so you can see. Oops. So as you can see right here, here's my line on my paper and it matches my line on my spine. So then that way I know I will be centered. All right, so let me zoom back out. Too far. Okay, so then what I do, once I get that lined up where I want it, I'm going to go ahead now and I'm going to make line going here. And that's just because I'm kind of anal about making sure everything's kind of, you know, lined up good. So I just kind of take the extra steps in making sure it all looks nice. So now I can go ahead and remove my tape. Now that I know precisely where I need to put it down. Now when I go to set it down, I pull it nice and tight, and I'll start in the corner down here. So I make sure I get that lined up there, and I just kind of eyeball and follow everything down. Yeah. So now I have that down. And just kind of make sure I burnish the tape down. I would use my bone folder, but sometimes I notice that it will scratch it. Even though I cover most of it, I just want to kind of make sure it doesn't scratch. So do that. Now what I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and cut off the extra paper. So I'm leaving a 1-inch border all the way around. Make sure you have a nice sharp blade because it makes life much easier when it's sharp. And now I need to cut off the top, so I got to stand up for that. Alrighty. And now I need to go ahead and add my score tape. But first what I want to do is I need to draw real quick. So I don't like to waste any score tape that I don't have to. So right here is where I just trace it on with a pencil because I know my score tape does not have to go over each side. So let me do this side. And the miter tool that I'm using is from Colorways Arts. And when I had said that I have something coming very similar to this, it's actually from Colorways Arts. And I will leave you a link down below to her store. But she's got some new tools out, and I ordered them. And that's where they're coming from. When I started the video, I forgot where I was getting them from, but that's where they're coming. And then anyway, the tool here, hers is it's just this little piece, and I went ahead and taped on a ruler because I needed it a little longer. So in case you're wondering, I do have a video about that tool on my website. So now I just need to tape it. So let me go ahead and tape this, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm all taped on, and now I'm going to go ahead and chop off the corners. Now if you don't have this tool, you also can just cut it, but make sure you leave about, not quite a quarter, a little more than 1/8 on this side. And then one last corner. Okay. So now we need to go ahead and get it on. So usually what I do is I like to go ahead and just pick it up and press it down on the desk. And I'll do both sides. So once I get the second side down, then I can go ahead and get it, because I don't want to squish the paper on the bottom. So this way now I can go ahead and do that. Okay, and then I'll remove the tape. There we go. I find sometimes that the craft paper is not so forgiving, that sometimes I feel like it could crack. It seems to be a little thicker, even though this one here is 65-pound weight. It does seem to be a little thicker. And then I burnish it all down. So now I'm going to go ahead and do the sides. And then just squish the corners down. And then go ahead and the same thing. See how you really can't stand it up because it'll be tall. I just kind of walk it over with my bone folder. And as I'm doing it, I'm kind of angling this a little more and more, getting it to kind of press down. And then once it's down, I go ahead on the edges, because you can kind of feel where the paper overlaps, especially, like I said, the craft feels thicker. I just go ahead and kind of push it in to flatten that area out. And then just make sure all your corners are even. And same thing with the other side. Get it down. Alright, so now it's on. So now I need to get these bent in, so my book will actually fold. So I just kind of pick it up a little and stick my bone folder in and just start pushing down on that. And then I'll lift from over here and do the same thing on this side. I'm just starting to get that paper, getting the fibers broken up, so then that way you can go ahead and fold your book. Because if you don't do that first, you could crack your paper. But if you're using like cloth or contact paper, then you don't really have to worry. You have to burnish a little still just to get the tape to stick in. But other than that, you're pretty good. And this more so because the paper's doubled. So then when I get done doing that, I kind of slowly just kind of wiggle it to get it to start to bend. And then I can see too where like it may not be completely stuck down with the tape, so I know where I can go back in and burnish. And then once it bends nice, then I just go ahead and squeeze all the way down to get the paper to crease. So I squeeze first time up against the spine to do that, and then I push like this part here and I kind of push it back a little, so then I can get the crease going down on the front and the back covers. And make sure you flip it, because when I do it this way, you can't quite always get to the end. Anyway, that's the first little book, and again, you can see right here and here where the seams are from the pieces of paper we had to join. So what you got to do is go ahead and make 2 of these. All right, and I'll be back in a second and I'll show you how to make the top one, the big one. Okay, so real quick before I move on to the next book, one thing I did remember, because I did make this book a long time ago, on the inside part of this, you need to actually cover it because not all of it gets covered with pattern paper, and you're making this one a little differently than what you make most albums. So what I did was I just, again, joined two pieces of paper together, just like I did before, and I have added score tape to the other side, and I'm going to go ahead and set it down and cover that part. So you want to do this to both of your little inside books. So go ahead and do that. And just measure it out and then trim it down. There's no right or wrong measurements. You just want to make sure you cover it all. So basically this paper here is 8 inches wide because this is 8.5. So it's a 1/4 inch top and bottom. So 8 inches wide and hold on, let me see if I can measure this. And it is approximately 18 inches long. So that's about how big that piece is. Just keep in mind when you are doing it to keep where the center section is here where the paper is joined. What I did was I laid it down on top and kind of eyeballed the center. This one I'm not being overly picky about. So I kind of eyeballed the center and then I just put a little tick mark and then cut that off and then went ahead and did the other side and just chopped that off. So now I'm going to go ahead and just stick it down. Now I like to pull it nice and tight. That way it doesn't kind of sag. So I pull it nice and tight while I'm trying to kind of see best where I want to put it. And I'm going to say that that looks good right there. So now I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing I did before. Just go ahead, pick up this side a little bit, and then I'm just going to go back in and I'm going to burnish to get the crease. Now you do have to work this one a little longer because you do have the paper going all the way up on it now. So it is going to take a little bit of work, but just keep slowly bending till you can get the crease. So you can see it's starting to crease there now. And then the other side. And then just keep doing that, and then the same way when I folded the book up, just do that then, and then go ahead and just press down. I'm going to do that off camera now because you basically know what I'm doing, but I'm just going to try to break in these fibers and stretch them out so I can close my book. Alright, so do this to both of your craft covered album covers. Alright. Okay, so let's work on the outside cover of the book. So you are going to need 2 pieces of chipboard that are 9 by 9, and you're going to need 1 piece that is 4 by 9. This is going to be your spine. So if you already know how to do this from watching my other video on how to make the smaller ones, it's the same steps, but I'll just go ahead and do it anyway. I will leave timestamps down below if you wish to go ahead and skip this part. But you're going to do everything exactly the same, including covering the black cardstock inside the book when you're done. So I have a piece of Tyvek. My Tyvek is 7 by 9. Again, having 1.5 inches on each side. And I scored. Now I'm going to go ahead and add my chipboard. And if you notice, this chipboard is a different color. I don't know if you'll pick up on that than the other chipboard. And that's just because I wanted to make sure that I kept my pieces separate, and I made it easier for myself to do it that way. So I just cut different colors. So I forgot to add my tape, so I'm going to go ahead and add that real quick. And then I'm going to go ahead and add them to the spine. Same way as before. I can't wait to get my new tools in the mail too. I love new tools. And go ahead and stick this in here. Now when I am doing this, I'm making sure that my top and my bottom are lining up here and down here. And I didn't worry about it if you noticed or not, but like right here, this isn't exactly attached. I'm not worrying about that so much because you cover the whole thing with tape, and honestly, I think it's just a waste of tape. I know I've always made it that way, but it just kind of wastes. And I'm using such wide tape here that I'm not worried about it. If I was using like 3/8 or something, I might do the other side, but I'm using 5/8, so it's covering a much wider surface. So go ahead and put that on, and now I'm going to cover this whole back with tape. Now that I got my whole back covered with tape, I can go ahead and do the the cardstock to cover it. And I don't know if I'm going to need, if I can get away with 2 or I need 4. And I'm going to need 3. Two or 3, not 4. But I definitely need it because I don't have enough space here to wrap. As you can see, even with the overhang, it's not enough. So I'm going to go ahead and add these. And why is my color washed? Hold on. Okay, so I went ahead and taped up my paper, and I did go ahead and draw my lines exactly like I did showing you on the other one. It's a little more harder to see on the black, so doing it on the craft on the first one, you know, really shows how to do it. So anyway, I did the same thing again from my center, and then drew my line 1 inch up, and then I also did the center of this, which was easy because this is 4 inches and the center is 2. So go ahead and stick it down now. And I think, like, honestly, other than making the pages, like, this is the bigger part because you're actually kind of making 3 minis in this because you're attaching them all. So I think this might be actually the longest step of the whole album. So I'm going ahead and making sure I'm lining up everywhere. Yep, they're racing on the roads. I live in the middle of nowhere, so to get traffic this late at night is not too common, but they do like to travel fast, if you just heard that. It is also midnight while I'm recording this, so. Alright, so now I'm going to go ahead again and do 1 inch over. Oops, I don't know what happened there. I am not even. There we go. It all wanted to go haywire. Alright, turn it over this side, and then you'll be able to see it in the full camera. And then the 1 inch off the top. Sorry if my hair is getting in the way. I got a stand to do that part. Alrighty. So again, I'm just going to do everything the same way. Going ahead and drawing where this is going to get cut off. And you pretty much know what I'm doing now. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the video. And I'm going to apply my tape. And then I'm also going to put my black cardstock over top of the center too, just like I did the other ones. And I will be back when I'm done with that, and I'll show you the next step. Alright, so now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and attach our two craft covered chipboards to our black covered chipboard. So just so you know, you don't have to cover the entire part of the black one because you are going to put these books over here. So you do just need to make sure you get the center. So anyway, my book is all done and ready to go. So what I did was these books, the spine parts are the outside, so the books are going to open like this. So what I did was I went ahead and added score tape to the backs of both sides. And now we're going to go ahead and attach them. So the best way to attach them is I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to look right now, kind of get a game plan of where I want to go. So you're roughly going to be about a 1/4 inch top and bottom on these sides here. So this is how your book goes. So a 1/4 inch top and bottom there. And then from the outside part here, I know it's going to be hard to see, but I want to go about 1/8 of an inch. So I want to leave just a little space. I want to bring it almost to the edge, but not totally to the edge. So I'm going to just eyeball it, see what looks good. So this part here, I'm going to use score tape and glue because I'm going to put glue on it because the glue is going to give me a little bit of wiggle time. And it's also going to create a little barrier between the score tape and this part of the book. So I'm going to use Fab Tack. So, oops, I use Fab Tack. So I'm going to go ahead and stick that on. And I'm just going to kind of do little bubble bits of it. Bubble bits. New word, bubble bits. So I'm just going to go ahead and put some on. And I'm going kind of thick with it, but I'm not going all the way to the edge because when I press it down, I don't want it to squeeze out from the edges. So alright, so I didn't go overly crazy with it, but I did go put enough glue on it. So I'll show you so you can see the glue on it. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to hold. And like I said, the glue is going to create a little bit of a barrier. So it'll give me time to kind of move it where I need to. So it won't quite stick all the way down. And it's not quite where I want it, so and just take your time with it. Make sure you do eyeball it first before you take all the tape and stuff off. Oops. And you can, I mean, I know a lot of people like the art glitter glue, but I have a feeling that that would probably grab way too fast. So when you get it where you want, then you can go ahead and stick it down. The art glitter glue, I feel like it's not going to give you any play time because like once it's stuck, it's stuck. So I think that looks good to me. And then I'm going to go ahead and attach this side. And I do want to make sure that when when it does close, it's going to close even. So I want to make sure that these are going to line up. So probably the best way is let's see. I think I'm actually going to use some washi tape. So right now the way I have it is, let's see if I can pick it up at all. So I'm making sure these two books here are lined up against each other, because when my book closes, I want it to make sure it does that too. So when I know I got it where I want it, I'm just going to use washi tape as a guide. And don't use washi tape that's super sticky, because you don't want to rip up your paper. So you don't even have to press it down hard. You just want to make it as a guide. And I'll show you in 1 minute. And honestly, that literally just came to me right now because I wanted to make sure it was going to line up. And my washi tape was sitting there. So alright. So as you can see what I did, there's my washi tape. And then when I stick my book down, I'm going to make sure that my book is in between the two spots of the washi. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and glue it down. So get all the tape off. Alright, and then, whoops, meant to stick the glue upside down. Hold on 1 second, as soon as the glue comes down. Alright, so now I'm going to go ahead and add my glue again. And put it on nice and thick. Again, avoiding too close to the edges. Let the score tape hold the edges down. And then glue, like I said, nice and thick so it gives you a little bit of wiggle. Okay. And now let's go ahead and line this piece up. And let's see. Okay, now I'm trying to line it up between my score tape. And when you get it to where you think, before you press it down, go ahead and close this part down. See if you line up nice. And it looks good to me, so we're sticking. Make sure you press it down, get all that glue squished around. I want to take my washi off before I accidentally get that stuck. Perfect. Nice. Anyway, so now your book, everything lines up nice and square. So definitely using that little washi trick helped. So there we go. And I did, from the original, I did increase the spine just because of how thick the other book was. So anyway, there we go. Alright, and I will be back and we will start working on the pages. So just so you know, when we do work on the pages, pages 1 and 3 are going to be identical, and 2 and 4 will be identical. So you'll have to make two of the same style for 1 and 2 the same style for page 2. So like I said, 1 and 3 will be the same and 2 and 4 will be the same. Alright, So we'll start the pages. Okay, so let's get started on making the pages. So in the book, you're going to be making, this is page 1 and 3. The cutting measurements in down below are for making one page. So cut them out, make a page, and then cut them out again and make your second page. I could have just said, like, you know, to these, whatever, but it's just easier if I put the measurements for just like one set, and then you can just double it up if you want. So anyway, let's get started on that. So your first piece, A1, which is going to be 8 1/4 by 10 1/4, and you are going to score on the 2-inch, 2 1/4, and 2 3/4 inch lines. So you can see those right there. No score tape on this. So go ahead and just fold on all of those score lines just to get your paper creased. And when I do, before I do, I always make sure, like, so when I start, I'll put my paper down and I always make sure I'm squared off here at the bottom. So like this flap lines up, and then I hold it, and then if I have to, I just kind of slowly walk it up to make sure that my line, so nothing gets scored off wonky. Go ahead and score those lines. If you want, go ahead and score them back the other way to go ahead and break the fibers. Alright, so once you do that, so on this particular piece here, this 2 1/2 inch flap, that's going to be what you bind to the book. So we're not going to add any tape or anything to it right now, but this is the part that is going to, you're going to attach it to the book, and then everything will flip. So what you want to do now is you need piece A2, and A2 is 9 by 8 1/4. And you can go ahead and add score tape to the, so let me go back. So you're going to score on the 9-inch side at 1/2 inch and at 3/4 of an inch. You kind of see those there. And then score tape on the outside on your 1/2 inch. And this is where you're going to attach it. Just so you know too, all of my score tape is all on the dented side. I don't have any specifics dented or bumpy. Everything is on the dented. I'm going to go ahead and do this one both ways, because these pages are going to be flipping back and forth. Alright, so now what you want to do is you're going to fold your score tape so it goes behind, so it's on the back, and what you're going to do is this 1/2 inch score line you're going to put on this 1/2 inch score line. So you're going to attach the two. So go ahead and put it right on top. And I'm making sure that my paper is also going to be squared off so it doesn't go crooked. So go ahead and set it on. So you will have this 1/4 inch score line showing still, as well as the 1/4 inch line on this piece showing. So like you can see the 2 1/4 inches. So make sure everything is lined up. And again, the way I like to tape my stuff is I hold it down, untuck my flap, remove my tape, make sure you've got no tape overhang on the top or the bottom, and then just kind of tuck it in. And press it down. So what you're going to have now is these are your 2 1/4 inch score lines right here. So basically, if you fold them now, it's actually making a 1/2 inch gusset there. So what it is you got a 1/2 inch here, so you can, let's see, get it so I can show you. So basically, can you see it? Kind of see it. So you can see the 1/4 inch here and the 1/4 inch over here, and then this is in the middle. Alright, so you're going to go ahead and do that. So now on your book, so again, the little flap is the back. So on the front here, This is going to be like the cover of your album, so I don't do anything to this particular page right here. So you're going to go ahead and open it up like this, and we're going to work on this side. So this right here. So what you need for this page is 2 Bs, and one I cut in Kraft and one I cut in black. So I'm going to go ahead and keep the color theme that I had in the original book using black and craft paper. So if you see a little K in parentheses on the cutting guide, that means I cut it in Kraft. But you can go ahead and cut, you can cut it all in one color if you want. You don't have to do the 2 different ones. So go ahead. These are going to be some photo mats. So go ahead and burnish them, and these are 6 1/4 by 4 3/4, and on the 4 3/4 inch side you're going to go ahead and score on the 1/2 inch mark on both of them. And then you are also going to need your C piece, and that one I cut in black, and this is 4 1/4 by 6 3/4. Again, score on the 1/2 inch. On the 6 3/4 inch side, score to 1/2 inch. So now what you want to do, you're going to take this page here, and let me just double check my sample. Okay, so on this one here, you're going to go ahead and attach your C piece first. So I'm going to go ahead and attach it almost to the score line, but not totally touching this 1/4 inch score line that's right here. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of put it up against it, but leaving just a tad bit of space because you don't want it to catch when it folds over. Although you do have the 1/4 inch gusset right here, so it shouldn't be too bad. So this is your C piece. Again, putting it down. And then on this one, let me just see what color. Alright, so then you want your craft piece, or one of your B pieces if you're doing all the same color. So you're going to take your C piece and flip it open, and you're going to put your B piece right on it. Again, leaving a little space from now the score line on this, so just a tad. And go ahead and stick it down there. So you can see kind of how we're going. And this all goes over. And give it a good burnish. This Kraft Card Stock doesn't like to burnish very well. And now you're going to take your other B piece. Oops, my tags are getting stuck. So now you're going to take your other B photo map and set it down on this side. And you can go ahead and put it right up against the cut edge. And I am probably about maybe a 1/2 inch or so from the bottom. You can put it wherever you want to. And go ahead and stick it down. So these are your photo flaps right here. You can see that. Now you're going to need 2 D pieces. And these are 3 1/4 by 5 3/4, and you're going to score on the 5 3/4 inch side at a 1/2 inch. And go ahead, oops, and fold that over. So now these pieces here, you can go ahead and open up this part here. So I'm just going to rotate this just to make it easier for me to work with. But what you want to do is, this is how your book goes, and you're going to be putting these 2 pieces here and here. Alright, so I'm just going to rotate it, and I'm going to go ahead and add my first piece. And I'm just going to kind of eyeball the middle. And right up against the cut edge. And now this flap here, I want this flap here to line up perfect to this flap. So I'm going to go ahead and set it on here and then bring it right up to the cut edge. But then I'm going to make sure, because there's a lot of, you can see the space here. There's a lot of room here to make sure that you can get that exactly matched up. So you can see that's matched up right there. So when you're happy with where you are, go ahead and stick it down. And let's turn it back around. So these are the flaps. These are what's going to hold everything together. So you can always add, this could work like a pocket too. So you can add loose photos and stuff in here, and then these photo mats and stuff will keep everything closed down. So then right here now you need your piece D1, and D1 is, hold on, D1 is 1 inch by 4 1/4, and on the 4 1/4 inch side you're going to score at a 1/2 inch on each end. So you are making a little band. So go ahead and fold that down. So now on your top flap, you're going to go ahead and add this band right at the bottom. You can either leave a little space if you want to, or you can bring it right down flush to the bottom. In the original, I had it flush to the bottom, so I'm going to go ahead and do that again. So line it right up to the bottom and remove the tape. And you are sticking this to the top flap. So you have this right here. And it goes right through. You can see through. So then now you need your piece D2, and this is 4 1/4 by 2 1/2. You're making a pocket, so you're going to score on the 4 1/4 inch side at a 1/2 inch, and at 3 3/4 you're going to rotate it to the 2 1/2 inch side and score at a 1/2 inch, and you're going ahead and making your pocket. Now you want to miter your corners, just like so. And now you can go ahead and fold. And now this piece, you're going to go ahead on the bottom flap. You're going to stick this right to the bottom. So make sure it's all lined up, and then hold it down just by untuck. Go ahead and stick it down, and then I can flip it and remove the rest of the tape. And then just go ahead and stick it down. Now this is how you're going to keep everything closed, because this is where your pocket, your tag, that will slide right through the belly band and into the pocket, and you keep everything nice and closed up just like that. So you don't need magnets or anything on that part. Alright, so that's how that one's done. So now we are going to move over to this side. So this side here, you are going to need 2 pieces, and that is E, and they are 7 3/4 by 8. You're going to score on the 7 3/4 inch side at a 1/2 inch. Put your tape on. So to these 2 pieces, you need to fold one into itself so you don't see the tape. And one piece you're going to fold so you can see the tape. Okay, so on these pieces here now, so this is going to be a flap that's going to open. So the piece with the tape is going to go right on here. But before we do that, we're going to go ahead and take the piece where you can't see the, you fold over like this, so you can't see the tape. We're going to take it and we're going to put them together like this. So we're going to take the tape here, and then, as you can see, this is the tape here. So make sure everything is all squared up, nice and tidy, and then just hold it, making sure you can't see any overlapping here or there. And then just untuck it and stick it down. So this is what you have. And then your tape is right there. All right. So now what we want to do is we're going to go ahead and let me get a tag in there. so it'll stick. Okay, so now what you want to do is, because this piece is a little smaller than your book, because you'll see in this nice black border, go ahead and line it up. So you've only got probably 1/8 of an inch all the way around, and you're going to square it off, so you can see that really nice right there. So go ahead, get it where you want it. Again, I'm going to hold it down, and I'm going to untuck, just flip this piece over, because it just makes it easier. And now, again, I haven't moved anything. Untuck my flap. And now I'm going to go ahead and stick it right down. And this is what you have now. So you got this flap, and it opens like this. So now you're going to go ahead, and now we're going to work on the top of this. So on this piece here, you're going to need piece F. Let me flip. So piece F is going to be 6.5 by 7.5, and on the 7.5 inch side, you're going to score it 1/2 inch and apply your tape. This is going to be your flap. So go ahead and fold over. Now again, just like we centered this piece, we're going to center this flap. So we're going to go ahead and line it up to where it looks good, making sure it's even on both sides. And I'm going to go ahead and turn it because I can't see it. So I'm making sure it's nice and even. Hold it down and untuck it. Okay, bring it back around. And now you need your G piece, which is going to be your pocket. So this piece is 7.5 by 3. On the 7.5 inch side, you're going to score it 1/2 inch, and at 7 inches, you're going to rotate it and score on the 3 inch side at 1/2 inch. And it is a pocket, so we're going to go ahead and miter our corners. Okay, and then go ahead and fold everything. Make sure you burnish it down. Now this pocket is going to go right on top of our flap. So again, I'm lining everything up, making sure it's all squared off. I'm going to hold it. Go ahead and stick it down. And there we go. Now we have that part. All right. So now we are moving on to piece H. Oops, where am I? Oh, H. All right. So H is you're going to need 2 pieces, 5 by 3. You're also making pockets again. So you're going to score on the 5 inch side at 1/2 inch and at 4.5. Rotate it to the 3 inch side and score at 1/2 inch. And you're going to go ahead and miter both those pockets. So this piece here, we're not fully going to attach because we want to be able to add pattern paper. And if you go ahead and fully attach these, it might be a little difficult to add your pattern paper when you go without having to take your pockets off. So we're only going to partially attach these. Alright, so with this one here, your flap that you just made with your pocket, lift it up. Now nothing is going to go up here. You can always add more stuff yourself if you would like, but at the moment nothing is going to go on there. So now you're going to go ahead and put your pocket right in the corner here, bringing it right up to the edge of both in this right here. So on this one, because we don't want to fully attach it because we want to be able to add pattern paper, we're going to go ahead and just untuck the side here. And we're only sticking this side down for now. So that way you can add your pattern paper. Once your paper's on, you can take your tape off and go ahead and stick the pocket the rest of the way down. And we're going to go ahead and put the second one right up to the top. making sure it's lined up to the side, and just a tad, give a little space right here for this flap so it doesn't get caught. So go ahead and attach just the side again, just like that. So your little pockets are going to just be flapping right here, and then it goes down like this. All right, so let's move on to that next part. So now this part here, we're going to open up to the inside, just like that. So now your next piece you need is piece I, and this piece is 8 by 8, and you are going to score at 1/2 inch around the entire perimeter and add tape. You're making a corner pocket. So once you get that set, you're going to put this in your trimmer, and you are going to cut from corner to corner to make the angle. All right, so let me cut that real quick. Okay, so that's what I did now. So I just took it, this was the original piece, and I stuck it in my trimmer and cut corner to corner. So now we're making pockets, so you're going to go ahead and chop off that corner. And go ahead and fold on those. And burnish them down. So now this overhang here, I'm going to go ahead and cut it off. So, oops. Just like that. All right, and do the same thing to the other piece. Okay, so now you have your 2 corner pockets. Whoops. So remember now, this was, oops, this is where we're at right here. You flap with your pockets that are not attached. We're going to go ahead and open up this flap here, and we're working on the center. So on this piece here, with the opening, we're going to go ahead and line this right up to the corner, making sure it is even. And we're going right up to the cut edges on the top and the bottom. Stick them down, and then go ahead and remove the tape from the bottom. And then make sure like so you don't get like a big bubble in it. I always like to kind of walk it down just like that. And now we're going to do the same thing to the other side. So this is the opening. And again, line it all up and stick it down. And there, now you have your 2 corner pockets. And it really does look nice with the 2 separate color papers. So now you need piece J, and J is going to be 2 more pockets. And this is 5 1/4 by 2 1/2. And on the 5 1/4 inch side, you're going to score at 1/2 inch, and 4 3/4. Rotate to the 2 1/2 inch side and score at 1/2 inch. And go ahead, we're making a pocket, so go ahead and cut your corners off. Okay, and then you can go ahead and burnish these down. Now again, on this right here, because let me show you where these are going. So now these pockets here are going to go right in here, just like this. So again, because you're going to be putting pattern paper on, you're not going to want to fully adhere these. So I'm going to bring it down to probably about 1/8 of an inch spacing on this side and on the bottom. And I'm only going to attach the bottom piece, because when you add pattern paper, you can bring it all the way down. So when you add your pattern paper, you can bring it all the way down, and obviously your pattern paper is going to be shorter so you can see your black. So if you bring it down all the way down to like 1/8 inch showing here and here, you'd be able to stick your pattern paper over under your tape and stick that down. Alright, so we're going to do the same on this side. Okay. Okay. There we go. So when you put your pattern paper on, then you can just go ahead and attach those. So now we close it up, and we're going to open it all the way up now. And now we are going to work on this page here. And this is where our waterfall is going to go. So let me show you how to make that waterfall. Okay, so we're going to get started making this waterfall, but let me just show you how this specific waterfall works. So you have a tab on the bottom here, and you pull it, and your waterfall flips, just like that. So with this piece here, you're going to make your waterfall, but you're not going to attach anything to the page until after you put your pattern paper on. So again, it just, real easy, it just flips, and this, I promise, is super simple to make. Alright, so let's get started. So you don't need many pieces for this. So for your waterfall, you are going to need one piece that is 5 by 12, and you're going to put the 12-inch side in your scoreboard, and you're going to score it at 7, 7.5, 8, 8.5, and 9. So you want to go ahead and fold on all those score lines, and you're going to do it just like the other ways I was doing the score lines. Make sure everything's nice and even, and you're going to score on both ways. So go ahead and fold all of these down like this. Making sure you're even. And then go ahead and flip it over and score backwards, because you want to be able to, when you're trying to get that nice flip, you want the score lines well creased when you do that. Okay, just like that. Alright, so you have all your score lines. So now with your tape that you want to put on, I waited to do this to show you. So your first run of tape, I'm using 3/8 inch tape. Your first one is actually going to go below the first score line here. So you're going to put it down here. So as you can see, there is no score lines on this part, but you're going to put your tape right under that first line. And then you're going to put score tape on every other line between the score lines. Okay. Let me show you. So it's on all the score lines, starting with this one here, and then on this big piece here, you're just going to have one here. So altogether, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces of score tape. And then you also need your photo mats. So these right here are cut 6 1/4 by 4 1/4. There is no score lines on these. And then you also need one piece that is 1 by 7 1/4, and you are going to put this in your scoreboard on the 7 1/4 inch side and score it 1/2 inch, and 6 3/4. And we are going to apply our tape. And then go ahead and fold. So you're folding your tape over. Now this piece here, just pick one of your photo mats and place it at the bottom, lining it up perfectly against the cut edges, just like that. And you're going to go ahead and stick it down. Just like so. And when you flip it over, you don't see any of that. All right, so this is your first piece. And this piece here is what's going to stick on this first tape that is on just this little flap here. All right, so now if you want to make sure that you have everything centered nice, you can go ahead and find your centers. And let me find my ruler. So we already know that this piece here is 6 1/4. So your center point would be 3 1/8 on each side. So I'm going to go ahead and just mark this. So 3 1/8 right there. So I'm just going to put a little tick mark in the center. You can just barely see it, so you can't even see it there, but it's in the center. So 3 1/8 on each side of my centering ruler, and then a little mark in the center. And then again on this piece here, I want to find my center again. So this piece here is 5 inches, so 2 1/2 is going to be my center. And I'm going to go ahead and put a little mark kind of right on, I don't know if you're even going to be able to see it, no, but I put a little tick mark right here in the center. So I want to make sure that I'm going to be even. So I'm going to take the little tick mark I put here, and I'm going to line it up to the little tick mark I put there. And I'm going to make sure I'm centered. So I'll have the equal spacing on both sides. And remember, this piece here is the one with the little band that you put on the back. So I'm just going to turn this one so I can see better. So I'm bringing this right here, right up to my first score line, right there. And I'll show you. So I'm going to go ahead and make sure I have them lined up. And I'm also lined up to the score line here. And you can see pretty much I have equal spacing here and here. I'm going to hold it down. And I'm just going to lightly lift my photo mat so I can kind of pull my tape up. And I stuck it down. So now right now my first photo mat is stuck. So now all the rest will be easy because this one here is centered. And you can go ahead and erase your tick marks. Although if you make them small enough, you're not even going to see them. So now what I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and line up the next one right again against this score line here. And I'm making sure my photo mat is going to be even from side to side. If I turn it this way. So I'm going to put this right here, making sure you're going to find the score line so you can make sure you're nice and straight there. And then you're making sure this part here is nice and straight to this bottom piece. All right. So I'm just going to turn it because it's easier for me to see. And once you know you're in where you need to be, go ahead, hold it down. And I'm just going to lift the score tape up. And I'm going to do that for each one thereafter, making sure I'm all lined up. And this is a really neat effect, and whoops. And it's not really that difficult. It's kind of easy to make. And then my last one. So make sure when you're lining it up, you're just below that score line because you don't want to go over it. So and on the last piece, if you want to, you can go ahead and fold this over just like this for now, because you do want to make sure that your top piece is covering all the black because you don't really want to see that part. So if you go ahead and line everything up and bring it right up to the top. Go ahead and stick it down. So now what you have right now is this piece here. And if you turn it over, this is what it looks like. And your first piece that you put on has this little band. So now what you want to do is you're just going to take this, if you're flipped over, take this piece and just tuck it in just like that. And that's it. And then that is how, it's probably going to be hard to do this, but that is how you get this look right here. So you're just taking and tucking this piece right into that. And then again, how you get your nice waterfall. So when you go ahead and stick this in the book on your little band, this is the only spot here you're going to put tape. But you're not going to be able to do that right now until you add your pattern paper. So again, so if we walk through it, open all this up, and then you're on the back page. And don't forget, this is the little binding flap you're going to stick down. So your waterfall is going to go right here. You're going to center it here, but you can't put it on until you do your pattern paper. So just so you know, go ahead and you can just add some tape to the back. And I'm just adding tape to that part. So then you can go ahead and when you get your pattern paper on, just go ahead and stick it down. And make sure you don't get tape on this part here because that's the part that is going to make you flip when you pull it. All right, so anyway, you need to make 2 of those. Okay, so you're going to want to make 2. So these are both pages, and these are going to go for pages 1 and 3. And I will be back and show you how to make pages 2 and 4. And the cutting guide is exactly the same. The assembly is a mirror image. So we'll walk all through that on the next video. And just so you know, the waterfall for all of them is identical. So I'm not going to walk you through the waterfall again. I will leave a timestamp down below in the description box if you wish to see just the waterfall. Anyway, I'll be back in a minute and we will work on pages 2 and 4. Alright, so let's get started on pages 2 and 4. So we've already made page 1 and 3, and the assembly process, all the cuts and stuff are the same. The assembly process itself is different. So you're doing it mirror image. So I'm going to run through this pretty quickly just because like I said, everything's the same the other way. You're just going to go ahead and just put stuff on the opposite sides. So let's go ahead and start folding. So this is piece A1, and just let me go back on my measurements. So the A1 piece is 8 1/4 by 10 1/4, and on this one you are scoring on the 10 1/4 inch side at 2 inches, 2 1/4, and 2 3/4. And no tape on this just yet. Let me see. Hold on. Okay, I just brightened it a little. It looked a little too dark as it's getting later here. It is getting darker. Alright. And then again, I'm just going back and scoring the opposite way so my page will fold nicely. So now for this one here, when we made the original one, we were going like with this and then our little binding flap here. So we're just going to flip it over this way. All right. So now we need our piece A2, which is 9 by 8 1/4, and you're scoring on the 9 inch side at 1/2 inch and at 3/4 of an inch. And you're going to put tape on the 1/2 inch score line, or the one closest to the cut edge. And again, we're going to go ahead and burnish and fold so it will flip nicely. So on this piece here, again, we can go ahead and open this up so you can see. So the 1/2 inch part here where your tape is, you're going to fold it under, and you're still going to be able to see the 1/4 inch score line. And this 1/2 inch is going to go on top of this 1/2 inch. So again, I'm lining it right up to that score line and making sure I am even all the way around. And I'm going to go ahead and stick that down. So when you stick it down, you'll see your 2/4 inches. So you can see there's the 2/4 inch lines. Kind of see. Alright, so this, again now, we are, where are we here? Alright, just folding it so I can show you better. So again, let me get in the light more. There we go. So this is basically with the 2/4 inches, it's a 1/2 inch there, and then you're like that. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and open up our front cover, and now we're going to do our photo mats. So you need 2 pieces for B, and they are 6 1/4 by 4 3/4. And I did one in Kraft and one in black. Continuing on with what I've been doing. And then you need your C piece, which is 4 1/4 by 6 3/4. So for this one here, so now this is our front, whoops, this is our front cover right here. We're going to open up, and now we are going to work on this side over here. Again, we're working backwards, so this is our C piece. We're going to put that down first, right up to this area here. The first score line, you're not overlapping on any score lines. And bring it close, just a hair away from the score line. And stick that one down. And now you're going to take one of your B pieces, and this happens to be the Kraft colored. And we're going to put it again. We're going to put it close to the score line on your photo flap C, but not quite, because you still want it to be able to close nicely. Just like that. And then your other B photo flap you're going to put into this corner now, right up against the cut edge. And I'm about 1/4 inch from the top. Stick that down. So we have these. So now we want our D piece, and this is going to be the flaps. So you're going to start with D, and this is 3 1/4 by 5 3/4, and you're going to score on the 5 3/4 inch at a 1/2 inch. And these are going to be our flaps. And then again, I'm just going to rotate this, so these are going to go in the middle for the top and the bottom. I hate not having nails. This winter weather has killed my fingernails. So it makes getting the tape off hard. So just eyeball it, centering it. But you want to make sure that these 2 flaps here are lined up, just like that. So now you need your piece D1, which is 1 by 4 1/4 and scoring at a 1/2 inch and at 3 3/4. And you're going to go ahead and burnish those. And this is going to be on your top piece. stick it down. And then you need your piece D2. And the D2 piece is 4 1/4 by 2 1/2. And you're going to score on the, forgot my measurement already. You're going to score on the 4 1/4, a 1/2 inch, and 3 3/4, and then rotate it on the 2 1/2 inch side and score at a 1/2 inch. And you're going to miter your corners, which I already have done. Trying to save a little bit of time so my videos aren't super long. I kind of want to put this all into one video, but we'll see. Alright, so a little pocket, and it's going to go on the bottom flap. And go ahead and stick it down on all 3 sides. And then everything, again, will all tuck into itself, just like that. Alright, now we're going to move on to our E piece, which is 7 3/4 by 8, and you're going to score on the 7 3/4 inch side at a 1/2 inch. And go ahead on this, again, if you remember, we're going to hold so you can see the tape on one piece and not see the tape on the other piece. So now this one here is going to attach, it's going to attach to this side. So the piece with the tape is going to go here. Okay, so if you kind of hold it there, you can kind of know. So the piece with that you hide the tape is going to go right on top. So let's attach these 2 pieces together, making sure they are snug and tight. And then this is going to go right here. So again, on the other piece, on this one, you're going to approximately 1/8 inch all the way around. And just eyeball that. And you're going to go ahead and stick it down. And you will notice, because this is where your other score lines and stuff are, but we're working from the cut edge. So you're going to still leave those score lines and stuff there. It's what's going to help make your book turn. Alright, so now we're going to work on the top of this. So you need your F piece, which is 6 1/2 by 7 1/2, and this is a flap, and you're going to score on the 7 1/2 inch side at a 1/2 inch, and add your tape and fold it. Let me move this so I can move that up. Alright, so I'm going to just turn my book because it's easier. And I'll show you in 1 second. So you're going to go ahead and attach that to the top. So right here. Now you're going to need your G piece, which is your pocket, and this is 7 1/2 by 3. You're going to score on the 7 1/2 inch side at a 1/2 inch, and 7 inches, rotate and score on the 3 inch side at a 1/2 inch. Burnish it all down. And now this is going to go on the top of your flap. And like I said, I am running through this pretty quickly because assembly part is all this, I mean, the main part of this is all the same, it's just the assembly is backwards. So, pretty easy. If you did the others, you kind of know where you're going with this and all my little hints. Now you're going to lift up your flap, and you have your 2 H pieces, which are 5 by 3. You're making pockets, so you're going to score on the 5 inch side at a 1/2 inch, and at 4 1/2 inches, rotate and score on the 3 inch side at a 1/2 inch. Now remember, these pockets here are only partially going to get attached because you're going to wait till you put your pattern paper on to fully attach them down. So you're going to put one right here on the corner, and you're lining it straight up against all the cut edges. Stick that down. Okay, and go ahead again, and you're going to go ahead and line this up almost to the score line, not quite. You still want to be able to make sure that you can flip that flap down. Okay, and then you would decorate with your pattern paper and then stick these down. So that is that. Now you're going to open up, and we're going to work on this side. Now this is the corner pocket, and this is piece I, and piece I is 8 by 8, and you're going to score 1/2 inch all the way around, and then just cut down the middle like I did. So I already did that. And let me just miter my corners. Okay, we're going to stick those down. We'll just furnish them. Alright, so let's go ahead and stick these down now. Open side again, going inside. Lining everything up, making sure it's all squared off. And then you can go ahead and stick them down. And then the other side. We are almost done making our pages. And now again, piece J, which is 5 1/4 by 2 1/2. And these are the little pockets that are going to sit on top of those corners. And again, we are not going to fully adhere these because we want to add our pattern paper first. So again, we're going to line it up, leaving 1/8 of an inch roughly from the side here and the bottom right here. And I'm just going to go ahead and just attach the bottom. Not crooked though. Alright, so let's fix that. So I'm going to go ahead and eyeball it here. Okay, there we go. Back to normal. And then I'm going to put it on the other side. Now if you wanted to, you could totally wait on putting these little pockets on until you actually go ahead and start decorating. But I just felt it was easier to show you this way, and also too, you don't lose the pieces. And I moved again, so there we go. And this closes all up, and then it folds out this way. And over here is where your waterfall would go, right here. And then if you keep folding, this is your little binding flap right here. And again, this page stays blank, so you can go ahead and put photo mats. You can always add more extra pockets. All right, so you need to make 2 of those, and those are pages 3 and 4. So I have those 2 here, and then I have my 2 and my 4 here. Alright, so I'll be back in a moment and we'll start putting this together. Alrighty, so we are going to get started adding our pages to our book. So here's our book. So we can go ahead, and what you want to do is this little 2-inch flap. Go ahead and apply score tape. If you wish to glue, you could glue. Might be a little more challenging, but you can go ahead and do that. So what I used for score tape, just so you know, on the closest part to the edge of my flap here, I used a 1/4-inch score tape, and then I used, you could use thickness, whatever you want after. I just used what I had, but I had 5/8 and 1/4. And that's what I did. And I'm going to show you a little trick that I do to add my pages, but you want to have like the thinnest, 1/8 of an inch is probably too small, so 1/4 inch is what I use. So let me show you how to go ahead and attach. So we're on this half of the book. Let's see if I can get it over more. And oops. All right, so we're in this half of the book here. This is where we open, and this is page 1. Make sure you check your pages. So what I want to do, I'm going to stand up, and so you only are going to apply tape up to the score line right here. So what you want to do is take it, and you can press this down because there is nothing in it, and you want to be approximately 1/4 inch away from the top up here, and also about 1/4 inch away on the top and the bottom. So what I did was I figured out where I needed to go, and then I drew a line, which again I'm actually right where I was supposed to be. So I just take a pencil line and I draw it here, so then that way I know I'm lined up good. So again, like everything else I do, I'm going to hold it down and I'm going to lift up, and I'm only going to peel away my 1/4 inch tape and press that down so it's in place. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of carefully lift, and I'm just going to pull the tape away from the other sides. And this is a trick I learned when I'm trying to tape down big pieces and I need them to stay even. It's kind of what I do to make sure it lines up. And then I can go ahead, press it down, and there you go. And now it's all stuck down. Alright, so now I'm going to go ahead and do this side. And this side is going to be with your page 2. So again, I went ahead, the closest to the edge here, I have the 1/4 inch tape. So I'm going to go ahead again. And if you have your waterfall, just take it out because it'll fall out or mess you up. So again, I'm going to go ahead and press down. And I'm going to look to see if I'm lining it all up even. And once I get it to where I think it looks good, to me that looks good there. So now I'm just going to go ahead and draw a pencil mark just in case I happen to move my book. And again, I'm also double checking right here because this should line up even with this side of your pages. So if you also take an eyeball to make sure where you're lined up here and here, and then with your score line, the first score line here, you can see approximately how far you are away. So if you get it to where you like it, I'm going to go ahead, remove my 1/4 inch score tape, press that down, and now I can flip my whole book back and then just kind of pull up a little. If you use wider score tape on this other part, then it's a little easier to pull. And then just go ahead and walk it back, and voila. The nice thing about using score tape versus glue is if you should make a mistake, you can just use undo and take it off and start over. Anyway, that is that side right there, and you can go ahead and do the same thing for the other side. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I'll be back in a minute. Okay, so let's wrap up this book. So now you need to add some pockets, and these are 9 by 3.5, and you're going to score on the 9-inch side at a 1/2 inch and 8.5. Rotate to the 3.5 inch side and score on the 1/2 inch there. And this is a pocket, so you're going to go ahead and miter your corners, like so. And then you need little flaps, and these are going to be 4 1/4 by 4 1/4. And on these, on the 4 1/4 inch side, you're going to score at a 1/2 inch and 1 inch. So you're going to have double score lines there. And go ahead and fold on those. And these are what's going to keep your covers closed. And you can use magnets on those if you wish. And again, fold back and forth because it is going to be doing that. So make sure you fold both ways. And let me just go ahead and get these done. You will notice on the original album that I did make these an acetate pocket, although I chose not to do that for this one. But if you did, you can always score a 1/2 inch all the way around, or before you fold, you can score in, cut in, make a line 1 inch in here, 1 inch up from here and over, and then a 1/2 inch from here. Cut out your window and add your acetate that way. But I chose not to do acetate pockets on this one. So I'm going to go ahead and crease all of those. Alright, so those are all ready to go. So now what you want to do is take your book, you're going to open it up, and just so I have plenty of room, let me make some room here. So you're going to go ahead and open up the first page, and your pocket is going to go right in here, and you are going to put it closest all the way to where this part attaches. So you're going to go ahead and add that there. Put that down. And let me just double check real quick. Yep, that looks good. So I'm going to go ahead and remove my tape. So now you have your pocket there. So now you need, let's see if I can get some room over here. My computer is also in the way now. So for your flap here, so let me just see. Alright, so on this page here, oops, this page here, my flap is going to go on the top. So this is where you're going to keep everything closed down. So you can go ahead and attach this piece, so where your book itself here closes, go ahead and attach it almost to the edge, not quite. You do want to leave a little bit of a space. So again, just like that. And then you have the 1/2 inch gusset here, so when you close your book down, just like that. And then you can use magnets to keep this part closed. So now let's go ahead and do this side here. So again, I'm going to line it up, and I'm going fairly close to here. I am kind of adding a look, making sure it's kind of even, but a little closer to the side. And stick it down just like that. Just like that there. And then on this one, it goes on the bottom. Actually, for the bottom, I should have not put that on. So let me take that off real quick. My first oops. Okay, I only have to remove part of it. So my tape is still there. So I'm going to go ahead and add this. Let me just, I just don't want it to stick back down yet till I'm ready. All right, so this is going to go first. So about there. So make sure you do your flap first on pages 2 and 4. And I'll do the other side so you can see that. Okay, and then now we can go ahead and remove this and stick that there. And then it would just close just like that. Okay, so close that over. We'll do this side now. And I'll show you and get it right this time. So go ahead and open up. Now this would be page 3. Make sure you get it in there nice and even. Hold on, just real quick before I... Okay, so it is the top, so this one's good. So you can go ahead and put this one down first. And there goes my book. And let's go ahead and this one will go up on the top. Again, close to where your book closes. This is your spine right in here. So again, it's got the 1/2 inch gusset. Just like that. And now I'm going to open this one. So instead now this time we're going to add our flap first, which we should have done before. So I'm going to come up from the bottom a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and stick it down. I'm probably a little over 1.25 inches or so maybe from the bottom. And then open that up. And I'm going to put my pocket. Stick that down. And there we go. And that's it. That is done. And I will be back in a minute and I will just kind of walk you through it all. There we go. Okay, so let me walk you through a few little changes I did do between this and the new version with the tutorial and my old version. So right off the bat, if you notice, let me stand them up and get them in the light. I definitely did increase the spine. You can see the difference here because it definitely needed a bigger spine, because this book right here now is packed and it does not even have photos in it. So it basically, all the work I put into this book, it's kind of unusable, only for the aspect that when I go to add more to it, it's really going to get huge. So unfortunately, I don't think it's very useful, but I did go ahead and increase the spine. So now there is definitely plenty more room, as you can see, to go ahead and add what you need for photos. And I also increased the width of these two books right here. So again, so you've got plenty of room to go ahead and add lots of photos. And let's see. What else do I have? So you can go ahead and take and if you need inspiration for decorating this book, go ahead and watch the original book, the walkthrough that I did, and it will show you ways to decorate it and everything. You can just look, like these are the tabs for that other pocket, and then I won't go through everything, but you can go ahead and get an idea of everything that way. And the only other thing I did differently was these corner pockets here, just for the tutorial to make it easier, and I did a little bit of chopping, so I wanted to make nice clean cuts. These pockets in the original, they kind of go all the way up to here, so these are a little shorter. So I think that's kind of the only other different that I did, and that was just to make the tutorial much easier to understand. And then when you go ahead, these little flaps are magnetic, and that's what would keep your covers closed. And you can go ahead and always add other pockets and things like that to the front covers. The only reason I didn't do it is because I kind of wanted to give it a look of individual little booklets. So then that way, you know, because of the paper I was using, it was spring, summer, autumn, and winter, and I wanted to keep it kind of looking like separate books. So that was that. So definitely do a walkthrough on that book if you want some inspiration. If you want to just make two, you don't have to make this full thing. You could just do the little, you know, what's in the craft paper. You could just make a single book with 2 pages like this if you wanted to. I haven't decided yet what I'm going to do to decorate these. I did ask on my personal Facebook page some ideas of what I could do, and people had a bunch of different ideas. If you had multiple kids, you could do 1 page for each kid. Another thought was holidays. You could do like Easter, Halloween, Christmas, different holidays for each booklet section. Another thing was, I think, like genealogy kind of thing, where you could do, I think they said, say like a girl growing up, you could have, you know, her toddler years, teen years, young adult, and adulthood, and that could be something. Another option you could do is you could make this into kind of like a wedding album. So you could almost take and do this side to be, say, like the bride, and this side the groom. You could do like that when they were growing up. And then you could go ahead and do something like all the festivities and everything, like pre-wedding. And then you can always do wedding on there. So that could be an option for you too. You could do color themes, make each section different colors. There's lots of different options to do for this. Like I said, I haven't decided what I want to do, but I definitely wanted to get the tutorial out there so you guys could go ahead and check it all out. Anyway, I hope you liked this tutorial. If you did, give me a thumbs up. I would love it if you subscribe. If you have any questions, just leave them down below, and I'd be happy to answer them. And if it appears to be a lot of questions where I need to make another video, I will go ahead and do that. And anyway, like I said, give me a thumbs up, subscribe if you like, and until next time, guys, happy crafting. Thanks for joining me.